Good morning once again. I am your instructor for the subject CA3, which is Therapeutic Modalities. Now we will proceed to our Module 2, Standards on Treatment and Rehabilitation of Prisoners, Inmates, or Person Deprived of Liberty. And we have the purpose of confinement. We have two purposes of confinement. First, to segregate the offender from the society, and the second, to rehabilitate the offender so that upon his return to society, he shall be a responsible and law-abiding citizen. Now we will proceed to the next slide. Legal grounds for detaining a person. First, syempre, commission of a crime. Second, violent insanity or any other ailment that needs compulsory confinement in a hospital. But for some instance, the insane person that is violent, he will not go to jail po, but instead, he will go to the mental hospital for treatment and for his confinement. Then we have the rules on the admission, custody, and treatment of inmates. First, seek to promote discipline and to secure the reformation and safe custody of inmates. So once the inmate admitted in the jail or prison, nasa custody na po sila ng Bucor or ng BJMP, syempre, kailangan po i-reform yung inmate at the same time, kailangan po safe sila in their custody. Second, shall be applied impartially without discrimination on grounds of race, color, sex, language, religion, or other opinion, national or social origin, property, birth, or other status. So, kailangan po hindi natin i-discriminate si inmate in terms of their color, sex, language, religion, or other opinion, national or social origin, property, birth, or other status. Third, we have shall be enforced with firmness but tempered with understanding. And lastly, syempre dapat ipakita po natin sa inmates that there are still rules and regulations once na-admit na po sila sa jail or sa prison. And to be followed po with firmness and understanding. So, dapat po magpakita ka ng tapang but at the same time, intindihin po natin yung inmates. Now, let's discuss the pre-release treatment. It is the program specifically designed and given to a prisoner during a limited period prior to his release in order to give him an opportunity to adjust himself from the regimented group like in prison to the normal, independent life of a free individual. So, before po makalaya si inmate, binibigyan po sila ng pre-release treatment to adjust when they finally go back in the society. Now, let's discuss the aims of institutional security. We have first, they need to prevent the escape of every prisoners. Second, to control entry of contrabands like weapons, drugs, and other goods na makakasama sa inmates natin. Lastly, maintenance of good order. So, lastly, kailangan po nila ma-maintain yung good order sa loob ng institution. So, dapat meron po silang sinusunod na batas para po maganda yung flow ng pamumuhay nila sa loob ng institution. Now, let's define custody. It is the guarding of penal safekeeping. It involves security measures, locking and counting routines, produces force, searching prisoners and their living quarters, and prevention of contraband. So every now and then, they have their counting routine. So binibilang po nila every now and then yung inmates kung kompleto pa ba sila inside the institution. So we have control. It involves supervision of prisoners to ensure punctual and orderly movement to and from the dormitories, places of work, church, hospitals, and recreational facilities in accordance with the daily schedule. Lastly, we have contraband, anything that is contrary to prison rules and regulations, like drugs and weapons, and other things that are not good for the inmates, like what I have said earlier. That's what we call contraband. Now let's discuss the prison discipline. It is the continuing state of good order and behavior in prison. It includes the maintenance of good standards of work, sanitation, safety education, personal health, and recreation. We have also prevention discipline. Involves prompt correction of minor deviations before they become serious violations, which may be dealt with a reprimand or warning, and is used when the deviation is trivial, due to ignorance or lack of understanding, or lastly, the result of careless or faulty habits. So in the prevention discipline, sa loob ng jail po, pag nakagawa po ng mali si inmate, nakagawa po ng minor na mali si inmate, they will immediately take actions po para po makorect si inmate, para po hindi na po ito mapunta or magdulot ng serious violations. And now we will discuss the rights of every detainees. First, right to be free from personal abuse and right to be protected against the following. First, any deprivation of his basic needs under normal situation and corporal punishment. Second, right to good conduct time allowance or GCTA for good behavior. Third, right to have access to the following as far as practicable. First, medicine and health services. Second, rehabilitation program. Third, visitation or conjugal and mail services. Lastly, free legal services and materials. And the fourth one, we have right to exercise his religious beliefs, right to air grievances and complain through proper authorities, right of women offenders to be personally attended, supervised by women officers without prejudice to male doctors, nurses, and social welfare officers from carrying out their professional duties in the institution for women. And lastly, right of foreign nationals to communicate with their diplomatic and consular representative. And now let's discuss the Bureau of Jail Management and Penology. As one of the 5 pillars of the criminal justice system, the BJMP was created to address growing concern of jail management and penology problem. Primarily, its clients are detainees accused before a court who are temporarily confined in such jails while undergoing investigation, waiting final judgment, and those who are serving sentence promulgated by the court 3 years and below. So the Bureau of Jail Management and Penology has 4 major areas of rehabilitation. A rehabilitation program, namely livelihood projects. So what are those livelihood programs or projects? Syempre we have like, for example, making of wallets, making of pastries, making bags, and so on. We have educational and vocational training, recreation and sports, religious, spiritual activities, So these were continuously implemented to implement the offender's pattern of criminal behavior and to reform them to become law-abiding and productive citizens. And class, by the way, the BJMP Educational and Vocational Program, they adopted the DepEd-ALS or the Alternative Learning System. So, para po sa mga PDL na hindi nakapagtapos ng pag-aaral or hindi nakapag-aral, meron po sa loob ng institution conducted by the professional teachers na jail officers din po, jail personnel din po sa loob ng institution. So, they are also trained to handle ALS classes. And next, we will discuss the three classification of the BJMP's PDL or the person deprived of liberty. So we have awaiting or undergoing trial, second, undergoing investigation, third, awaiting final judgment. So, ang tatlong PDL po ng BJMP natin ay yung mga sumasailalim pa lamang po sa investigasyon. Pangalawa po, yung mga nililitis pa lamang ang kaso. Pangatlo naman po, yung mga detainees natin that are convicted 6 months to 3 years. Yun po yung PDL ng Bureau of Jail Management and Penology. And then let's define the BUCOR. So BUCOR refers to the Bureau of Corrections. Bureau of Corrections refers to the central office and the prison and penal farms, which are known as colonies. Then we have to define civil identity. This refers to societal functional identity recognized and or granted by government agencies and authorities. Example, judge, attorney, and accountant. We have competent authority. This refers to the President of the Republic of the Philippines, Supreme Court, Court of Appeals, Sandigan Bayan, Regional Court, Metropolitan Trial Court, Municipal Trial Court, Municipal Circuit Trial Court, and so on. We have the Deputy Director. This refers to 2-star ranked general officer of the Bureau of Corrections, uniformed personnel. We have Deputy Director General. This refers to the second officer in command of the Bureau of Corrections with the rank of Assistant Secretary as civilian employee. Then we have deterrence. When retribution is imposed upon a person who has committed a crime, the discomfort inflicted will dissuade the offender and others from repeating the crime. So, dissuade po means discouragement. Ito po yung prevent yung tao para mag-commit ng crime or para po mabigyan po siya ng discouragement to commit another crime. Then we have special deterrence, when the theory refers to the specific offender who committed the crime. We have general deterrence, describes the effect that punishment has when it serves as a public example or threat that deters people other than the initial offender from committing similar crimes. Then we have Director General, refers to the highest officer in BUCOR with the rank of Undersecretary as a civilian employee in the uniformed service who is authorized to wear the 3-star rank insignia, symbol of authority and command responsibility. So, ang Director General po ay nagsusuot ng insignia 3-star rank as symbol of authority and command responsibility. Insignia of a 3-star rank symbol. DOJ refers to the Department of Justice. We have the definition of inmate, refers to the person confined in jails or prisons to serve his or her sentence or for safekeeping, who is officially called person deprived of liberty. We have the national inmate, refers to an inmate sentenced by a court to serve a term of imprisonment for more than 3 years or to a fine of more than 1,000 pesos. So ito po yung nasa Bucor, Bureau of Corrections or the National Prisoners. Dun po sila sa Bureau of Corrections. We have person deprived of liberty. Refers to a detainee, inmate, or prisoner or other person under confinement or custody in any other manner. We have prison. Refers to a government establishment where national inmates or prisoners serve their sentence. Reformation refers to the rehabilitation component of the Bucor's present correction system. Release refers to the procedures where an inmate is discharged from prison by expiration of sentence, granted parole, grant of any other forms of executive clemency, and order of the court or competent authority. So, marirelease po ang isang inmate by expiration of his sentence, granted parole, grant of any other forms of executive clemencies. We have the reservation, refers to a penal or prison land reservation area comparable to a military reservation area. Restoration refers to a victim-oriented approach to crime that emphasizes restitution, compensation for victims. We have restraint, refers to confinement to incapacitate or deny a criminal the ability or opportunity to commit further crimes that harm the society. We have retribution, refers to making a person accountable for offense committed by serving sentence, community service, fines, and other means. We have safekeeping, refers to the custodial mandate of the Bucor's present correction system, and shall refer to that act that ensures the public that national inmates are provided there with their basic needs. Then we have security camp, refers to a large enclosed area with dormitories, sports facilities, classrooms, medical facilities, religious facilities, and other necessary facilities where national inmates, prisoners are confined to serve their sentence. So, nasa Bureau of Corrections po yan. The Bureau of Corrections have the 3 types of security camps: maximum security camp, medium security camp, and minimum security camp. So, meron pa po yan super maximum security camp. And then the safekeeping of national inmates in the Bureau of Corrections. First, decent and adequate provision of basic necessities such as shelters, quarters, food, water, clothing, and syempre medicine. Second, proper observance of prescribed privileges such as regulated communication and visitation. And lastly, efficient processing of necessary documentary requirements and records of their timely release. So, the processing of these documentary requirements shall be undertaken by the Directorate for Inmate Documents and Records, or the DIDR. The core objective of these safekeeping provisions is to accord the dignity of man to inmates while serving their sentence. Security of national inmates. First, proper custody. Second, implementation of prison laws and regulations to include prevention of prison violence and crimes. And lastly, efficient recovery of fugitives. We will discuss the support services inside the jail or prison. We have the Human Rights Desk. So every jail facility operates a 24-hour human rights desk handled by a designated human rights affairs officer. So the main function is to receive complaints concerning human rights violations from PDL and visitors, and to report the complaints through the appropriate reporting system to the concerned BJMP offices and to the Commission on Human Rights for investigation and appropriate action. So, kailangan po yan. 24-hour po yan sa loob ng jail. Then we have help desk. With the government's policy of providing timely and speedy access to government services, each jail facility has established its own help desk managed by a designated help desk officer. Functions as a referral unit where PDL and visitors can lodge their requests for assistance concerning personal or family needs. These requests are evaluated by the help desk officer, and all requests for assistance that cannot be addressed by the jail are referred to the concerned government agencies for appropriate action. Then we have referrals for aftercare. It is limited only to providing welfare and developmental programs to PDL while they are in their custody. To ensure continuity of care to PDL upon release, the Jail Unit Welfare and Development Officer facilitate referrals to different community resources. Then we have the Bucor's PDL to personnel ratio. So the Bucor shall maintain the custodial personnel to inmate ratio of 1:7. So they shall maintain po the ratio of 1:7, which is custodial personnel to inmate ratio, and the reformation personnel to inmate ratio, which is 1:24. So 1:24, reformation personnel to inmate ratio po yan. Hence, it is authorized to increase its manpower to meet such ratio and may continue to increase personnel per percentage rate increase of committed inmates annually or as the need arises. So class, that will be the end of our module 2 in CA3 in therapeutic modalities. Thank you for listening and God bless.